Silo 18 may be turning into the most important silo in the entire network. And the strange part is that nobody inside Silo 18 appears to have planned it. For most of the story, Silo 1 has been the center of power. It knows the other silos exist. It controls the safeguard. Its algorithm monitors what happens below. The people in individual silos are kept isolated, while Silo 1 remains above the entire system. Silo 18 was supposed to be one population among dozens. Yet, almost every major discovery that has threatened the system has now passed through Silo 18. Juliet discovered the truth about the outside. Lucas discovered the hidden connection between the silos and learned that Silo 1 exists as the control center. Kennedy and Lucas survived a journey the algorithm considered finished. And now Silo 18 has something even more dangerous than knowledge. It has people who can act on that knowledge. That distinction matters. Because Silo 18 has already produced the kind of chain reaction Silo 1 was built to prevent. The rebellion began inside 18. Mechanical stopped following Bernard's orders. Juliet returned from another silo with information nobody was supposed to have. The safeguard was exposed, and the people who once believed their silo was the entire world began learning that their home was one part of a much larger system. Season 3 has pushed this even further. By episode 8, Lucas and Patrick Kennedy have survived their mission and reached Silo 17. Juliet is communicating with Jimmy again, and information from Silo 17 is being used to understand how Silo 18 can block the same system that destroyed its neighbor. That is a huge change in the balance of power, because Silo 18 has become the place where information from different parts of the network keeps meeting. Silo 17 gives Juliet the practical knowledge. Lucas brings information about Silo 1 and the algorithm. Kennedy becomes part of the link between the two silos, and Juliet carries all of it back into 18. That makes Silo 18 unusually dangerous to the people controlling the network. The algorithm can handle a rebellion. It can isolate a silo. It can trigger a safeguard. It can manipulate information. But what happens when one silo begins collecting information from outside its own walls? That is the problem Silo 18 represents. And there is another reason this silo keeps ending up at the center of everything. Juliet. Think about what her journey has actually done. She was originally investigating George's death. That investigation exposed the hidden levels beneath her silo. Her attempt to understand what happened to him eventually led her outside. Once she discovered the other silos, the entire mythology of the show changed. Then she entered Silo 17. That gave her access to a living example of what happens when a silo rebels without understanding the system controlling it. Silo 17 became evidence. Its ruins, its survivors, its memories, and its failed rebellion all became information that Silo 18 could use. That is exactly why Juliet's return mattered so much. She didn't simply come home, she brought another silo with her. And Silo 18 has continued doing something similar through Lucas. Lucas went searching for answers beneath his own silo and reached the location connected to the algorithm. He learned that Silo 18 wasn't operating independently. There was a larger system above it. That revelation changes Bernard's entire position. For a long time, Bernard appeared to be the person running Silo 18. He controlled information. He understood the rules. He could manipulate judicial and mechanical. He could decide who was dangerous and who was useful. Then Lucas discovered the truth. Bernard wasn't the top of the hierarchy. He was an employee. And the people above him could decide that Silo 18 had become a problem. The safeguard made that brutally clear. Silo 18 could be destroyed remotely because someone outside the silo had authority over its survival. That should have ended the argument about who was in control. Instead, it created a new possibility. What happens when the silo that was supposed to obey the system learns how the system works? That is where the new Silo 1 theory becomes interesting. Silo 18 doesn't need to conquer the other silos. It doesn't need to become another authoritarian headquarters. Its advantage could be information. Silo 1 has power because it controls the network. Silo 18 could gain influence because it exposes the network. Those are completely different forms of control. And the events of Season 3 make that possibility much stronger. Juliet has been trying to understand the safeguard while dealing with the consequences of her return. Lucas and Kennedy have been sent on missions that depend on knowledge gained from previous discoveries. Silo 17 is no longer just a mysterious neighboring bunker. It has become a source of information that directly affects Silo 18's survival. Then Episode 8 gives us another major piece. The silos were created because of the nanotechnology threat. That means the original purpose of the entire network was tied to something outside the silos themselves. The people who built the system had a reason for creating multiple isolated populations. But over time, the system developed its own rules. The silos became societies. The algorithm became an authority. The safeguard became a weapon. And information became something that had to be controlled. That last part may explain why Silo 18 keeps becoming so important. The system was designed around isolation. Silo 18 keeps breaking isolation. Juliet crossed the boundary. Lucas reached information hidden beneath the silo. Kennedy crossed between silos. And now the survivors of 18 have direct knowledge that another silo existed, failed, and left behind the clues needed to understand the system. Every one of those discoveries makes the original structure harder to maintain. There is also a fascinating detail in the way Silo 1 treats Silo 18. The algorithm has repeatedly intervened when 18 became unstable. That suggests Silo 18 matters a lot. If it were simply another disposable population, the system could have eliminated it and moved on. Instead, the algorithm keeps trying to manage it. It replaces people. It manipulates leadership. It uses Camille. It suppresses information. It interferes with Juliet. And it continues trying to preserve control over the population. That raises a possibility that could become very important before the series ends. Maybe Silo 18 wasn't selected because it was special. Maybe it became special because it was the silo most capable of resisting the system. And that would make Juliet's story much bigger than a rebellion inside one underground city. She could be turning Silo 18 into the first place where the entire system can be understood. There is one problem with this theory. Silo 18 is still being controlled. Season 3 has made that painfully obvious. Juliet's memory was manipulated. Camille became connected to the algorithm. The water supply became part of the system's control over the population. Even after Bernard's fall, the machinery of authority continued operating. So, if Silo 18 is supposed to become the successor to Silo 1, why does the algorithm still have so much control over it? That may actually be the strongest evidence for the theory, because Silo 18 is becoming the battleground. Silo 1 has spent generations keeping the silos separated and predictable. Silo 18 has become unpredictable. The rebellion exposed weaknesses in local authority. Juliet exposed the outside. Lucas exposed the hidden structure. Kennedy crossed the distance between silos. And now the people inside 18 have information that can potentially interfere with the safeguard itself. The algorithm has to respond to that. The more Silo 18 learns, the more aggressive the control becomes. That suggests the algorithm may already recognize what Silo 18 could become. There is another clue in the choice of people around Juliet. Look at the roles they have played. Juliet is the person who crosses boundaries. Lucas is the person who reads the hidden information. Kennedy becomes someone capable of moving between isolated populations. Jimmy and the survivors of Silo 17 provide the memory of what happened before. None of these people fits comfortably inside the old silo structure. And that may be exactly why they can challenge it. The old system depends on people staying inside their assigned roles. Sheriff, mayor, IT, judicial, mechanical. Every part of the silo has a function, and information is supposed to stay within those boundaries. Juliet keeps crossing them. That is why she has become such a threat. She doesn't respect the informational borders of the system because she keeps discovering that those borders were artificial. She goes into the down deep. She goes outside. She enters Silo 17. She learns from Solo. She returns. Then, she sends Lucas and Kennedy back into the network. Every time she crosses a boundary, another piece of the system becomes visible. That creates a very different kind of revolution. A normal rebellion tries to replace the people in charge. Juliet's rebellion is slowly questioning the structure that allowed those people to control everyone in the first place. That is where Silo 18 could become the new center of the network. If Juliet and her allies eventually prove that the silos can communicate, that the safeguard can be stopped, and that the algorithm can be resisted, Silo 1 loses its biggest advantage. Information. For generations, Silo 1 has been able to maintain control because each silo believes it is isolated. Once that belief disappears, every silo becomes harder to manage. Silo 18 could become the first silo to demonstrate that the network can be challenged. And once one silo proves it, the others have a reason to listen. That could turn 18 into a communication center, a place where other silos send information, a place where survivors compare what their own leaders told them against what is actually happening, a place where the truth about Silo 1 can spread. That would make Silo 18 a successor to Silo 1 in a very specific sense. Silo 1 would remain the center of the old system. Silo 18 could become the center of the system that replaces it. And there is an even bigger question hiding behind that. Was this accidental? The show has given us several reasons to suspect that Silo 18 may have been different for a long time. Salvador Quinn left clues. George found hidden information. Juliet kept following those clues. Lucas eventually reached the hidden location beneath the silo. Now the people of 18 have become involved in discoveries that reach all the way back to the creation of the silos. That is a remarkable concentration of information. Maybe the founders never intended Silo 18 to replace Silo 1. Maybe Silo 18 was simply one of the 50 silos, and the fact that it became dangerous was the result of a few people refusing to stop asking questions. But there is another possibility. The original architects may have understood that a system built entirely around control would eventually need a way to change. Maybe one silo was always expected to break the pattern. Maybe Silo 18's importance was never about its location. Maybe it was about the people who would eventually live there. That remains speculation. The show has not confirmed that Silo 18 was designed as a successor. But the pattern is hard to ignore. The silo that gave us Juliet also gave us Lucas. The silo that produced the rebellion became the silo connected to Silo 17. The silo that was targeted by the safeguard became the silo where people learned how the safeguard could potentially be stopped. And now the same silo is becoming connected to the deeper truth about why humanity went underground. That makes Silo 18 the perfect place for the old system to fail, because Silo 1 depends on distance. Silo 18 has been eliminating that distance one discovery at a time. There is also a fascinating irony in the algorithm's behavior. It appears to believe that control can preserve humanity, but every attempt to control Silo 18 has produced more information. Bernard's secrecy created rebellion. The safeguard created urgency. Juliet's cleaning created hope. The suppression of her memories created another mystery. The algorithm's interference with Camille creates another layer of resistance. The system keeps trying to contain the problem, and the containment itself keeps revealing how the system works. That could become the central conflict of the final stretch of the story. Silo 18 doesn't need to destroy Silo 1. It may only need to make Silo 1 unnecessary. If the other silos learn what Silo 18 knows, the central authority loses its monopoly on information. And if the silos can communicate, the entire reason for having a secret control center begins to disappear. That would be a much more fitting end for the silo system than simply watching one leader replace another. The real successor to Silo 1 could be a network with no single Silo 1 at all, and Silo 18 could be the place where that begins. The biggest clue may be Juliet herself. She has already crossed every boundary the system told her was absolute. She crossed the airlock. She crossed the outside. She crossed into another silo. Now she is trying to cross the final boundary, the one between the people living inside the silos and the people controlling them. If she succeeds, Silo 18 won't become powerful because it has the biggest army or the best leader. It will become powerful because it knows how the machine works. And that may be exactly what Silo 1 has spent centuries preventing. As Season 3 moves toward its final episodes, the question is no longer simply whether Silo 18 will survive. The more interesting question is what happens after survival. If Juliet stops the safeguard, if Lucas and Kennedy keep bringing information back, and if the truth about the silos reaches people outside Silo 18, then the old hierarchy has a serious problem. For the first time, one silo could have enough knowledge to challenge the entire network. And if that happens, Silo 18 may become the place where the silo system changes direction. Silo 1 built the rules. Silo 18 may be the place where people finally learn they can break them. And if the theory is right, that may have been the purpose waiting for Silo 18 all along.